From the high banks and high speeds of Las Vegas to the twisty technical turns of Road America, the One-Up Superstar Series soldiers on for race number 6 of the 2022 calendar, and we're at this beautiful and scenic Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, a 4.0-mile road course, one of the longest tracks we go to all season, second only to Monza. It's a beautiful place to visit, and it's a great place to host round 6 of the season, the Sargento's 200. Alongside me in the booth for today's race is James Ellison, as is the case for all our road course races this season. And unlike the first at Monza, this is a very technical circuit. Not as many high-speed, high-bank corners as Monza would have before, but we got a lot of slow-speed areas, and we got a lot of hard braking zones. So these cars have to be set up with that in mind, and like as with every road course, qualifying is going to be key for this race.
Yeah, it's quite the course, and like you said, second to Monza and full length. It's going to be a challenge for sure, especially considering, like you said, the differences between Monza and here. You really got to be careful on this course in some places.
And we can look now at the starting lineup for today's 20-lap race at Road America. Nick Ortiz gets his first pole position of the season in the number 91 Ford. He lines up alongside Jeffrey Finguy, sporting the auto owner's colors for the first time this season. Stephen Hunter, the 2020 champion, starts third, with Sam Donato fourth, and J.Q. Hallec, after their heartbreaking defeat at Las Vegas last time out, they are looking to rebound, and they will start in the 5th position. We've got some big names starting up front, but we've got some big names starting out back too. Christian Vargas, the defending series champion, only managed to qualify 25th. Justin Hutchinson, 23rd. So we got some names that have to work their way up from the back to the front. Is it possible here on raw pace, or will strategy need to be a factor in them making their way to the front of the field?
It's going to be quite the challenge for both Vargas and Hutchinson. But if they've got strong cars, I honestly think that if they play their cards right, we could see them up there near the front at some point during this race.
So with that being said, we've got 20 laps ahead of us, just over 80 miles to contest here at Road America. This is the One-Up Superstar Series, and all 39 drivers are ready to take to the track. And the green flag is mere moments away. Stay tuned for this green flag, which is coming right up next. Coming up the hill to face the green flag, it's Nick Ortiz and Jeffrey Finguy. Up the hill, coming to the green flag, it's in the air now, and the Sargento's 200 is underway at Road America. The field fanning out really far back there. 3 wide in places. They barrel down the main straightaway, heading into the first corner. Ortiz and Finguy side by side. Who's going to get the advantage coming through the first corner and down in the turn 3 as well?
Yeah, they're pretty even right now, though it looks like Ortiz is starting to pull ahead. Finguy dropping back some. Ortiz clears for the lead, so give him the early advantage.
And it looks like the top 6 or 7 are going to go single file for the time being as they head down the second longest straight on the track, headed towards turn 5. The rest, everybody makes it through the first few corners fairly calmly, but I've imagined turn 5 is going to be the calamity corner of this track. It always seems to be that way. And I see a couple cars with damage in the back. Well, I'm sure we'll find out who they are and what happened to them in a moment. But right now, Nick Ortiz has a pretty comfortable lead over Jeffrey Finguy. 2 Fords lead 4 Toyotas, 3rd through 6th. The first Chevrolet, J.D. Martin, in 7th, and the first Dodge, Diego Yepes, in 8th.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good here for top 2. Ford's strong right now, and of course, like you said, the Toyota's behind, waiting to see if something happens to these 2 up ahead. I'm really curious as to what happened in the back, though.
We'll find out what happened there momentarily, of course. As through the kink we go towards Canada Corner, another hot spot for trouble here on this 4-mile track. But Nick Ortiz continues to maintain his steady advantage over Jeffrey Finguy. Ortiz, of course, got his first career win on a road course. It came in the season finale back in 2020. And he's always a stout competitor when it comes to making left and right-hand turns as they come out the final corner. Now, going up the hill to complete lap number 1, single file for the first few cars, and Nick Ortiz with a pretty steady lead over Jeffrey Finguy in second.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting for Ortiz. Once he got up there in the lead, unless Finguy was able to mount a charge to steal that away, and we already got somebody pitting.
That's Anderson Reed in the 15. Looks like he was the one who had some serious damage coming through turn 5. And yes, that is very heavy damage on the 15. It should be repairable for that 15 car, but not at all what the Sinclair Canada Racing team were hoping for here. Yes, he discards the broken sheet metal, and he goes. So Anderson Reed was back at about where he started, just inside the top 30, braking for turn 5. He gets into the back of Blair in the 19, and that's where the damage comes from. It's a very treacherous corner, turn 5, especially when you've got cars 3 and 4 wide diving into the braking zone. It's unfortunate for Anderson Reed. He's had some bad luck this year, and it looks like it's going to continue here today. But he rejoins the race in last place as we look back now to the front of the field. Nick Ortiz, still the leader, heading into Canada Corner for lap number 2.
A very unfortunate domino effect takes Anderson out of chance for even a good finish out of this thing, but that's the nature of road course racing sometimes, especially in the early laps.
Certainly is the case, as now Sam Donotto in the 00. He's gotten around Stephen Hunter for 3rd, and now he's all over the back bumper of Jeffrey Finguy for 2nd. Up the hill they go to complete lap number 2. Donotto has a big run on Jeffrey Finguy. Donotto's pretty good on these road courses as well. He's yet to win in the Superstar Series, but he's come close on many occasions. Could this be today? He gets win number 1. He'll have to get past 2 of the series best to make it happen. As they go through turn 1, he's still within striking distance of the top 2.
Yeah, he's right there, and given his sponsor a little bit there, he's like a rocket ship.
But he did go really wide, did Sam Donotto. He went really wide in turn 3. That opens the door for Stephen Hunter to come back at him in the BP number 51. They're going to be side by side going into turn 5. This is going to be an interesting battle for real estate here. It looks like, well, Donotto's going to have the advantage having the shorter line around, but Hunter might have the momentum around the faster way, and yes, Hunter clears Donotto again. So that little mishap in turn 3 cost the 00 in a big way coming down into turn 5.
Yeah, it was a move that worked for a minute there, and it looked for sure like the 00 was going to have a chance to challenge the Fords up front, but he just went wide, and he's going to have to rally back to try again.
Now, Jeffrey Finguy is in an interesting position. He's won already this season. He did that at Bristol in a very surprising victory that I don't think anybody saw coming. I'm sure he wants to get another one and to earn this one on merit, because Jeffrey Finguy is one of the best drivers we have in the Superstar Series. He's tied for second on the all-time win list with Jared Polansky. If he were to win today, it would put him into a tie with Stephen Hunter for the most wins in the 1UP Superstar Series all time. Now, I'm sure Stephen Hunter is going to have something to say about that back in 3rd, but that's a story worth keeping an eye on too if Finguy manages to get around Ortiz here in the remaining 17 laps we have.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like it's Ortiz and Finguy right now, but still a long way to go. We'll see what happens.
So as things stand right now, Ortiz and Finguy hold a comfortable margin up front. They're about half a second apart, and they've got about a second back to Stephen Hunter in 3rd. But remember, this is a very technical circuit where the slightest mistake can cost you big time. It just happened to Sam Donotto in turn 3, and it could happen to any one of these 39 drivers. We've already seen Anderson Reed with issues. Who knows however many other cars this could affect as we head down into turn 5 to enter lap number 4. And it looks like Ortiz is going to keep the lead. Now, we are going to see pit stops in this race, 2 of them to be precise. Pit window here is anywhere from around 7 to 9 laps. I'm curious who's going to duck on for fresh rubber first, and how the strategy will shape the outcome of this race. Because Ortiz has the lead for now, but it's just a matter of how he does on the pit stops that really will shake up the order.
Yeah. Like one slip up on pit road is definitely going to put you in a very tough spot. We've seen it happen before.
Yep, it's happened on many tracks, on ovals and on road courses. It's just a matter of who's good on pit road and who has struggles, and you'd be hard pressed to find anybody with a more consistent crew on and off pit road than the FPM 92 of Jeffrey Finguy. But he's facing increasing pressure from behind. Stephen Hunter's closed the gap on him, and Hunter is got to be aware of the wins situation that Finguy is in, and Hunter would love nothing more than to get his first win of the season and deny Finguy the chance to tie him atop the all-time wins list.
He's right on him, and there he goes. Ortiz continues to take off, and he's got to move. Go ahead.
This will only allow Ortiz's lead to get bigger, with Hunter and Finguy side by side for the lead, barreling it off into turn 1. I think Finguy's going to pinch Hunter down into the tighter line around the track, and it looks like Finguy's going to hold him off for the time being. But that allowed Ortiz's lead to grow to a full second, so they got to realize that as much as they want to race each other, they've got to realize that yellow and blue 91 is the bigger threat at the moment, and they've got to go chase him back down.
Yeah, that's the important part there. Don't fight each other. Go take down the 91, then fight each other, and hope he doesn't get back by you.
And this is this interfighting amongst Finguy and Hunter has allowed J.Q. Hallec and Sam Denoto to close in as well. Make this a 4-car battle for second, and it might be even more cars than that, because as you can see, Cale Teskar Jr., the Monza winner, and Diego Yepes are also closing in. So this could go any number of ways, honestly. But they're all forming a big train right behind Ortiz, who's growing out a big lead, and it looks like we have a few more that have faced difficulties on track. Bobo Jones in the 04.
Ooh.
Looks like he's had a coming together with somebody on the racetrack, and Blair, of course, had to pit to assess the damage she sustained in her Anderson Reed incident. But Bobo Jones looks like he has had an incident completely. So it looks like going down in the turn 5 again, Bobo Jones might have gotten the braking all wrong, because it looks like he's pretty far behind the cars in front of him, but yeah, he just misjudged the braking and plowed into the back of Ben McDonnell in the 12. I would not be surprised if that 12 car had to pit later in this race for an extended period to repair that back end. Because while the aerodynamics are not as important here as, say, next time out at Talladega would be, there's still the functionality of the car is still very important to getting around this place in one piece. And right now, Bobo Jones is on the back foot, currently 37th.
Yeah, looking at that impact, I would definitely have to say 12 crew had to be like, what did we do to this guy? But it's just like we've said before, and we'll keep saying, it's the nature of road course racing sometimes. Sometimes it can be like short track racing, just with right turns as well as left turns.
And as things stand at the top of the board, Nick Ortiz has grown his lead even more to about 1.7 seconds over Jeffrey Finguy and 1.9 over Stephen Hunter in the 51. So Ortiz has got a pretty handy lead, but I wouldn't be too comfortable up there, as now we've got a side-by-side battle for 4th. J.Q. Halleck's going to power around the outside of the carousel, try and get around Sam Denoto. That's a pretty tough move if Halleck's going to make it stick. I think they are, though, and Hallec now gets around Sam Denoto for 4th, the hard way, I might add.
Yeah, that was a very bold move by Hallec, and it paid off. Now you got the Monza winner taking a look at the 00. You know he's hungry for another win.
And now we've got Revolution Racing teammates 3rd and 4th, Hunter and Hallec. Revolution Racing, surprising to say, has yet to go to victory lane this season, which is a bit of a surprise considering they've got the 2 champions of the series on their team and a fresh prospect in J.Q. Hallec. But now it's side by side once again between Finguy and Hunter, going at it, and we look to see if anybody makes the dive to pit road yet. Nothing doing. So we enter lap 7 with the field still on track, and once again we go deep into turn 1, and I think Finn Guy is going to do the exact same thing he did to Hunter on the previous lap and hold him off once again.
Yeah, Hunter keeps making moves every so often, and yeah, Finn Guy's just got a really strong 92 machine right now, so I think what's going to have to happen here is something's going to have to happen to Finn Guy on a pit stop, or Hunter's going to have to better stop when it comes time. But as we see Tesker Jr. here going after Donato.
They are two Toyotas of opposing teams side by side for 5th, and I think Donato might lose out here to the 0-2 of Cale Teskar Jr. The leading rookie so far is Cale Teskar Jr., and not only that, he is also doing a very good job battling the veteran Sam Donato, and this might be a bit of a tough position for Teskar Jr. because it's a left-hander, but he pinches Donato tight to the inside, but Donato's just got a good run off the corner, and he holds on to 5th place.
That's a combination of a good car and experience right there for Donato, but I don't think Tesker is going to give up just yet, and we'll see exactly how this plays out. Of course, coming up soon will be some pit stops, so that could play strategy in one's favor of the other, while it could also mess with the leaders up ahead.
Now, Ben McDonald, we mentioned him a moment ago. He did make an early pit stop to repair damage. He rejoins in last place, a minute off the lead. But now we rejoin the lead itself. Nick Ortiz coming into end lap 7. He's going to come for the pit lane right now. And it looks like there's not going to be much differing strategy here. Everybody's coming. It's feeding time at the Zoo of Road America's pit lane. Everybody's making the dive to pit road. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody goes off strategy here, but it looks like everybody's going to pit this time. It's going to be a very congested pit lane if it works out like this. And yeah, sure enough, everybody hits the pit lane to end lap number 7.
Yeah, honestly, this is where you got to be very careful. Crowded pit lane means a chance to have a pit road incident. It's been seen before. We look back to Monza, what happened between Zachary Fitzwater and Lane Sanders.
Absolutely. Now, these 4 cars are going to stay out, but as they exit the pits, critically, Nick Ortiz had a pretty slow stop among the leaders. He's lost 4 spots exiting the pits. He's allowed Diego Yepes through, J.Q. Hallec, Stephen Hunter, and critically, Jeffrey Finguy through. So, Jeffrey Finguy will assume the race lead on lap number 8 because of Ortiz's slow stop. The 91 will fall to 5th position, and now Finguy is going to take the lead because all the cars that stayed out on that pit cycle were at the tail end of the field anyway, so they would not challenge for the lead by staying out any. So Finguy is now your new leader with 2 Hungry Revolution Racing Toyotas right behind him.
Yeah, I believe we were discussing this earlier, that the pit strategy can either play in your favor or it can totally screw you over, and in this situation, it totally screwed Ortiz over.
But it certainly provided help to Jeffrey Finguy in the 92, as Ortiz is now stuck behind Diego Yepes, who moves himself up into the 4th spot, and Lane Sanders, after the heartbreak of Monza a few weeks ago, is now in a very solid position in 6th, I believe. So Sanders having a strong run in the Mountain Dew Dodge, but Ortiz just had a slow stop, and he might have to try something here if he's going to have any impact on this race, which now has become a 3-car affair. Finguy ahead of Hunter and Hallec in their battle for the lead.
Yeah, this race has certainly gotten interesting after those pit stops with the struggles that Ortiz has. Someone else I couldn't notice had a struggle of their own. It looks like Tesker Jr. had some issues as well. I did not see him in the top 10 anymore, at least among the cars that are set to be in the top 10 once the scoring updates.
Which it will do at the end of this lap, so Finguy assumes the lead ahead of Hunter and Hallec. Yepes will take over 4th ahead of Ortiz. And we'll check and see as the scoring updates, and sure enough, Cale Tesco Jr. drops out of the top 10 entirely. As a result of his slow stop, he will cycle out in 11th. But, yeah, it just goes to show some cars have better luck on pit road than others, and some might have more training of their pit crews than others. They have a lot of pit stop practice, but either way, it's just a roll of the dice when you have 35 cars on pit road all at the same time, trying to get in and out as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's one of the things about tracks like this when there's not a lot of cars on that are lapped down or more, as the 51 goes for a bit of a slide.
That was a really wide corner there, and that allows his teammate Hallec to close right up on the back of the 51. This is going to be an interesting battle to keep an eye on, because Hunter does not want Finn Guy to join him on top of the world, as it were, in the 1UP Superstar Series. But Hallec is looking for their first career win at all, and if anybody deserves a win after the heartbreak they suffered at Las Vegas, it would be JQ Hallec, leading with 10 to go. Flat tire sent them to pit road and to a 39th place finish. That is not indicative of how they ran that day, and they're making up for it right now. They're running third, but 2 passes on a road course. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but Halleck's got the drive to make it happen.
Yeah, I understand a little bit of heartbreak. I wasn't fighting for the lead. I believe it was Bristol earlier this year. I was having a good run in my number 10 truck and the truck series, and it just fell apart for me real fast. That short track racing, road course racing, it can either give you a great fortune or it can really do you dirty.
Now we cycle back to the lead of this race, where Jeffrey Finguy is doing his best to hold off the 2 Revolution Racing Toyotas of Hallec and Hunter, running 2nd and 3rd right now. I think Hallec might have drifted a little wide in turn 3. Yeah, they definitely did, because Halleck's fallen off quite a ways off their teammate. So Hunter is going to do his best to chase down Finguy. Looks like it's now become a 1v1 for the race lead, as we're going to take the halfway lap this time. Man, time sure flies at Road America. We're already almost halfway through this race, and we've already had plenty of interesting storylines to go over, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more interesting storylines to cover in the second half of this race.
Yeah, it's one thing to. I lost my train of thought there. Never mind. I lost it. Go on ahead.
Yeah, well, it's easy to lose focus when there's so many corners to try and memorize and settle yourself out with. As we now go through a little ways deeper into the field, the 19 of Blair having a strong recovery after staying out under that pit cycle. But now we cycle back up to the front. Nick Ortiz hasn't found a way past Diego Yepes, and as a result is stuck in 5th. But there's still a pit stop left to go, and who knows, maybe it's a more staggered pit cycle instead of having everybody pit at the same time. Could be an interesting little story to keep an eye on. There's always a story or two lurking somewhere in the 1UP Superstar Series, especially on a big old road course like this one.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where if you don't have everybody pit at the same time, undercut, overcut, either one could give somebody an advantage, and it's just a matter of how it plays out. And when they're all pitting at once, like we just saw, it can be chaotic, and well, who knows what could happen on the second pit stop.
It'll be a very interesting note to keep an eye on, because Jeffrey Finguy is in command of this race for the time being, but he's got a very hungry Stephen Hunter breathing down his neck. Hunter has won 8 races in the Superstar Series. Jeffrey Finguy has won 7 times. They each know what it takes to get to victory lane. The difference between them is Finguy has won this season. Hunter has not. So Hunter has got to be feeling the pressure to get a win this season. It took him only 4 races, I believe, to get to victory lane in 2021. We're already on race 6, and he has yet to score a victory. So it'll be very interesting to see what risks Stephen Hunter will take to get a victory here, as it looks like he had a bit of a slow corner sequence there, and that allowed Hallec to close up on him again. So, and that also allows Finguy to just pull away from both of them.
Yeah, Finguy's loving seeing the fact that he can't keep up here, that the 51-4 are just not being able to catch him. He's loving this for sure.
So Jeffrey Finguy in his first race with a new sponsor, as always, a good thing to lead on your sponsor's debut. But it's just going to be very interesting to see what he can do to hold on to this, because, like I said, we still have a pit stop to go, and the window actually is open right now if people wanted to short pit and make it to the end of the race right here. It'd be a bit of a risk doing that, considering they only made it 7 laps on their first go-around. But you never know. It's just a very interesting thing to keep an eye on, but it looks like they're all going to stay out at least one more lap here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Because, like I said, we talked about it, staggering pit cycles can really work out, or it can really hurt. And I know Ortiz would love to see it pick back up for him and get him back up there in the fight.
And he's currently still stuck in the 5th position, 6.3 seconds off the lead. So he's going to have to try a strategy play here, one way or the other, if he's going to have any hope of hanging on here. But JQ Hallec having a strong showing here in the 4, and they really need it. They are currently well outside the top 30 in points, and which is very unlike a Revolution racing car to be outside the top 30 5 races in. They have just had atrocious luck this season, and I'm hoping they can turn it around here. And so far, with about 9 laps to go, they're having a pretty strong run in 3rd, but of course, as we saw at Las Vegas, anything can happen to derail it completely.
Yep, it just takes one little thing to completely destroy a really good run. I brought it up earlier. I had that experience in the Turbo Truck Series earlier this year. A good run destroyed, and I had to take the 10 truck back to the shops and get it repaired.
And I'm sure JQ Hallec is lamenting that race at Las Vegas, but I'm sure they'll be able to make up for it with a nice, strong top 3 run at Road America if they can hang on for a good run. And considering the chaos of next week at Talladega, a good run here is very much appreciated at a track that's a little more stable than the chaos of Talladega next time out, as it looks like this is a bit early to see the leaders come in, but sure enough,
wow.
Jeffrey Finguy, Stephen Hunter, and the rest, they're all coming in, except Nick Ortiz. He's going to stay on the racetrack. This is good. This is where I said Ortiz needed to try something, and he's trying it right now. Cale Tescar Jr. is staying on the racetrack. Miles Mashburn staying on the racetrack as well, but everybody else peeling off to the pit lane. And Jeff Bolton, he's going to stay on the racetrack, as is Nelson Reeves. We'll see if anybody else decides to go an extra lap here. And yes, Daniel Bouchard. So it looks like 6 cars are going to stay out an extra lap. But for everybody else, it's time to make your final pit stop here.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. Ortiz wants to try something and see if he can actually regain the lead, or at least put himself in a position where he could maybe, get that win that he could have potentially given away earlier on. And right now he's enjoying being in the lead again, but he knows he's got to pit very soon.
If not this lap, then certainly the next. Because these laps are very long here, well over 2 minutes, and it's not like Monza where the fuel consumption is high, but the tires go off pretty bad here. As we now look at everybody else who stayed out, and now back to Jeffrey Finguy, who rejoins this race in the 6th position, ahead of Stephen Hunter. So that pretty much has stayed the same, but the top 6 have stayed out an extra lap or so. Nick Ortiz being at the head of the train, and he's got a pretty comfortable lead over Cale Tescar Jr., who's not even in sight as Ortiz heads towards Canada Corner on lap number 13.
Yeah, he's just in his own little zip code right now, but that can all change real quick here when it comes time to finally pit, which Who knows? Could be this lap, could be next lap. I'm not so sure. I don't want to be the one to predict and then end up wrong.
Well, let's find out as he rounds the final corner. He's going to stay out an extra lap. What he must be thinking is that the guys who pitted early, like Finguy and Hunter and Hallec, Ortiz must be thinking they might not be able to make it to the end of the race by pitting that early. Ortiz is going to try to plan strategy of a 7-lap stint, then another 7-lap stint, and then a 6-lap stint to the end. But as you see Nelson Reeves peel on the pit road here, as will Daniel Bouchard. So that leaves 4 cars on the track that are going what I thought would have been the optimum strategy, 7-7-6 for your stint lengths. But if these guys manage to pull it off by pitting early, they obviously know something we don't.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out once Ortiz and Tescar and the others come to pit. I'm really curious as to how this is all going to play out. Right now, Ortiz is just cruising around, enjoying being back in the lead again, but in the back of his mind, he's got to be wondering, will this pit stop work, or will it just screw me over again?
He has a 34-second lead over Jeffrey Finguy currently. That could evaporate here will evaporate when he comes in for his pit stop. But the question is, will he be able to hold on and keep the lead, or if he can't, will he make the fresh rubber pay off and get around these guys again? It's been pretty difficult to pass here, but not impossible. It's just a matter of timing it right. As Ortiz comes to, it'll be 6 laps to go at the line, and Ortiz has got to be, he knows that if he follows the leaders, he's just going to finish behind the leaders. He's got to try something different here. He's going to hang if he's going to win this race, and this is his only way of doing that. So he rounds the final corner, and yes, he'll be coming into the pits this time, and I imagine everybody else who stayed out will be joining him there.
Yeah, follow the leader. You don't always have to do that, and well, in this case, Tescar, Bolton, they're all going to have to follow him now because they know that if they stick out here too long, they're going to risk realizing they made a mistake and end up maybe running out well away from pit road.
So here is Ortiz pulling into pit stall number 1. He earned that by winning the pole for this race, and he will get some fresh tires and fuel as Finguy and the rest of the leaders round the final corner, heading up the hill, and they should easily make their way past Nick Ortiz in the pits and give the lead back to Jeffrey Finguy in the 92. The question is, how far behind the leaders will Ortiz fall? You see him exiting the pits there. I don't think he's going to lose too much time, but it's still going to be a hefty amount of track position to make up and only have 5.5 laps to do it.
Well, he gained a couple spots back from that pit stop. It's just a matter of, can he take advantage of having 2 laps fresher tires to be able to get up there and do something about the top 3.
And keep in mind, those tires on Ortiz's 91 are cold, fresh out of the pits. Diego Yepes, right behind Nick Ortiz, has his tires warmed up from an extra lap or 2 out of the pits. So as you can see back there, Ortiz is just trying to get those tires up to temperature, but in doing so, he's going to risk losing out to Diego Yepes in the 77, as you see the battle for second rage on between teammates Hunter and Hallec back there, heading towards whichever... Okay, yeah, here we go. Diego Yepes is going to try and get around Nick Ortiz on those cold tires, and Yepes makes the move, so Ortiz falls back to 5th. We'll see what he can do once those tires are up to temperature, because these leaders have 8 miles on their tires compared to Nick Ortiz, whose tires are brand spanking new.
Yeah, right now it's looking like Ortiz's best bet will be to get a top 5 finish, but who knows? We've still got a long way to go, even with about 5.5 laps left.
And keep in mind, if these 3 miscalculated and run out of fuel, it's a very long lap around here, and they may be stranded, as a matter of fact. But Nick Ortiz knows he's good to make it to the end of the race. So if these guys start to stumble on fuel, he can scoop right in and pick up where pick up the scraps and take a surprise victory here. As we now have 5 laps to go from Road America, Finn Guy keeps his lead of about a quarter of a second over Stephen Hunter in second.
Yeah, right now I'm definitely if I were a betting man, I would definitely be putting my money on Finn Guy or Hunter, because these two seem to be the ones who had the best shot, unless something happens, like you said, and they just miscalculated by pitting early. We'll just have to wait and see. Still got a few laps left.
Got about 4.5 laps to go now, and Jeffrey Finn Guy, to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe he has won on a road course before. I'd have to check the stat book, but if he were to hang on and win this race, that would be a very worthy, well-deserved victory, because he's held on to a very tenacious lead, as Stephen Hunter maybe just went a little bit wide in that corner, and that allows Hallec to close right up again. These three are in a dogfight for the lead, and they've pulled out a 4.5 second lead over the 4th place man, Diego Yepes. So they've got plenty of space to scrap away it for the victory, but they got to be careful, because one wrong move, one dip into the gravel, and that could be game over for any of them.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good race so far. They've watched their marks. They've gone through the corners just fine, but that's all for nothing if you end up getting way loose and find yourself in the gravel pits.
And you can get yourself stuck in those, and especially here at Canada Corner, you can get yourself stuck in those, and that would just be an absolute shame for all these guys who have done so well in this race so far. Coming to 4 laps to go at the line, and Finn Guy is doing his best to stave off Stephen Hunter as the top 10 separated by about 13 seconds. We got to move for the lead right here. Stephen Hunter finally gets underneath Jeffrey Finn Guy for the top spot, coming to 4 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, these guys better be careful. JQ Hallec back there just waiting in the wings, see what these guys do. If they make a mistake, it's all over, and that 4 will get the lead.
And wouldn't that be a story after the heartache of Las Vegas if he steals one here at Road America, but Hunter just doesn't have it in him to get around Finn Guy, and now that allows JQ Hallec to get underneath Hunter for the 2nd spot. Teammates side by side for 2nd, heading down towards turn 5. This is going to be a very interesting battle, because whoever wins this will be able to face off against Jeffrey Finn Guy in the final few laps to try and take the win, if they can make it on fuel, of course.
Yeah, right now it's just hard to see. They're fairly evenly matched. They have been side by side for the last few turns, and it looks like Hallec finally clears, but I was a little concerned for a second there, because if one slipped from either one, and that would have been a very awkward team meeting come later on this week.
JQ Halleck's best career finish in the 1UP Superstar Series is 2nd. That came at Pikes Peak, of course, way long ago in 2020. It's been a long time coming for JQ Hallec, and as long as if they can pass Jeffrey Finn Guy in the final 3.5 laps, that would be a very emotional victory for driver and for team, and it would be a very popular victory at that. But he's got to get around Jeffrey Finn Guy to make it happen, and so far, no one's been able to do that today.
Yeah, people have tried. Even when Finn Guy was in 2nd, they've tried. Mostly Hunter there, now in 3rd, but it's just a matter of if they can actually get by him. That's been the biggest issue so far.
And these 3 have got to be taking care of their stuff here and saving fuel along the way, because this will be a very long stint if they go to distance here. It'll be about 8 laps they'll be stretching it, and 8 or 9 laps, and nobody on the first stint can make it more than 7 laps. So they're going to have to do a lot of fuel saving between these 3, and Diego Yepes in 4, if they're going to hold on to those top 4 spots. But Nick Ortiz, he knows he can make it, and he's just hoping and praying that the top 4 all run out.
Yeah, there's like 4 to 6 cars that could easily make it if the top 3 can't. And you got Ortiz, Tesker Jr., and it's just amazing to see things like this play out. if they play out with a true fuel mileage strategy like we're looking at the possibility of here.
Only about 2.5 laps to go for Jeffrey Finguy, JQ Hallec, and Stephen Hunter. But keep in mind, that's about 10 miles they've got to navigate on these final few drops of fuel here. So they've got to keep that in mind as they navigate the carousel on lap number 18. A sweeping right-hander here. It's just going to be very interesting to keep an eye on, because one slight stumble from the leader, and that could allow Hallec and Hunter by. But if they all start to stumble, that could allow these guys to close up, Yepes and Ortiz. But keep in mind, Yepes also might be short on fuel. The ones that we know can make it to the end: Nick Ortiz in 5th, Cale Tesco Jr. 8th, Miles Mashburn in 9th, and Jeff Bolton, who's outside the top 10. We know they're good to go, but the question is, who will these guys hold on? Because we're coming to 2 laps to go at the line here.
Yeah, watching here, because I don't know. Well, they're good right now. Coming, like I said, 2 to go. It could be a coming to the white flag scenario that they realize that they're not going to make it, and then again they could just go for broke and say checkers or fumes, whatever it is they got to do.
I would not be making that decision if I was JQ Hallec, because they, like I said at the beginning, they are well outside the top 30 in points. They need as many points as they can possibly get, especially with Talladega next week. They have got to be thinking, if this doesn't work and we've run out of gas on the final lap, we will lose at least 20, 30 or more spots, and that would be disastrous for our season. I don't know, this is going to be a big risk, but maybe they've done the math right. We'll find out in about 1.5 laps time. But for Jeffrey Finguy, I'd take the gamble if I were him, maybe even Stephen Hunter as well. But for JQ Hallec, there's no way.
Yeah, it's risk versus reward, and right now it's just a matter of which is more important. And honestly, reward would definitely be more important for Hallec at this point, given the current situation there.
Yeah, it's just managing the risk and with the reward in mind. As we round the carousel, heading towards the kink here at Road America. Not quite full throttle in the stock cars, but they've swept through it fairly well, and these guys are in flying formation heading towards Canada Corner, about 5 seconds clear of the rest of the field. We're coming to the white flag at the end of this lap, and if these guys don't duck on the pit road at the end of this lap, we know they're going to go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be go for broke. That's really all that matters right now for these three, and for Yepes back there in 4th.
Moment of truth right here. They're staying out.
This is definitely...
They're going for it. The white flag is in the air. We've got one more lap from Road America, and that's 4 agonizing miles for Jeffrey Finguy to try and stretch the fuel and make it work to try and get his 8th career win and tie Stephen Hunter atop the list here. But it's going to be a very, very hard-fought win if he can hang on to it, because we still have 3/4 of a lap to go to make it on this tank of fuel.
And you got to think about Hallec and Hunter. They're waiting for him to stumble. If there's an issue with Finguy, if he starts sputtering, they're not only going to be trying to capitalize, but they're also going to be wondering, they pit the same lap, will they start sputtering if he does?
It's certainly an article of concern as we look back to see Mark Davey with a bit of an issue in the 01. It's a shame for him. He's one of the best road racers we have in this series, but something went wrong in the final few laps of Mark Davey. There you see him there in the 01. He will likely finish in the 37th position when this is all said and done. But our focus now is back on the leaders coming through the carousel for the final time. This is going to be a very important lap, possibly the biggest of Jeffrey Finguy's career, if he can hang on and win this race.
All 3 of those cars are under power at the moment. They might have actually played this pretty well, which, Ortiz is not going to be thrilled with this, but hey, what can you do?
Down into Canada Corner for the final time now. And Jeffrey Finguy's still motoring along, and he's only got a few more corners to go. But keep in mind, the final straightaway is a steep uphill climb, and if you run out there, it could be a very bad time for you and your team. But coming through the final corner for the final time, it looks as though Jeffrey Finguy's going to make it work. Got to make it up the hill, and he does it. Jeffrey Finguy has done it. He gets his record-tying 8th career win. It is Jeffrey Finguy and Stephen Hunter tied atop the all-time win list. Jeffrey Finguy wins the Sargento's 200 and takes a piece of 1-Up Superstar Series history in doing so. DQ Hallec for a tied career best 2nd place, and after the heartbreak of Las Vegas, that'll be a very welcome result. Stephen Hunter, well, he did what he could do, but he sees his record tied today in 3rd. Diego Yepes gets his career best in 4th, and if Nick Ortiz rounds out the top 5, Lane Sanders gets his first top 10 of the season in 6th of quiet day for him. Kevin Carter, 7th. Cale Teskar Jr., 8th. Miles Mashburn. Jared Polansky ran that the top 10, just ahead of Jake McMillan in 11th. But really, this was Jeffrey Finguy's race the moment Nick Ortiz had that stumble in the pit lane on the first cycle. Because as soon as that happened, the 92 got out front, and he never really let go of it to the end.
Yeah, and for Ortiz, he's got to be kicking himself right now. What could have been?
But for Jeffrey Finguy, like I said, this puts him in a joint all-time wins lead with Stephen Hunter. They both now have 8 career wins. Who's going to be the one to get to 9 first, or even the 10? It'll all be settled this season, I imagine, because it would be very hard to believe if Stephen Hunter doesn't get at least 1 win this season, the way he's been running.
It's going to be a nice battle to watch to see who can break the record and see if the person who falls behind once it's broken can tie it back up. It's going to be a real nice battle to watch throughout the season between these two. But definitely got to say congrats to Finguy here on playing the strategy right.
And keep in mind, of course, Christian Vargas and Jared Polansky aren't too far behind either. So if either of them were to rack up a bunch of wins, they could steal the honors from Finguy or from Hunter. So this is going to be a very interesting battle. And Jeffrey Finguy is also the first driver this season to get to 2 wins in the 1-Up Superstar Series. So congratulations to him, and I'm sure he'll gladly take this victory, considering next week we head to one of the fastest racetracks in all of the United States, the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. It's our first trip to Talladega in the 1-Up Superstar Series, if you can believe it. But I imagine we're going to have a lot of fun out there. 3 and 4 wide, well over 200 miles per hour. It's going to be an absolute thrill ride for all of our drivers, and we hope you'll join us for that race as well. So, from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Road America. Our 2nd road course of the season is in the books, and Jeffrey Finguy played the strategy to perfection. He is your winner after a crazy 20 laps took place here at Road America. The all-time record is tied. Who can break out ahead of the other in the coming weeks?